The Scholastic Ball Report is brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, Clark's Pump and Shop, Whitaker Bank, Roberts Insurance, Crown Trophy, Sutherland Chevrolet, eCampus.com, Rafferty's, Double Dogs, and by Prep Spin.
Hello, I'm Gary Ball, your host for the Scholastic Ball Report. Welcome to the final Scholastic Ball Report show. Today we're wrapping up 23 years of showcasing Kentucky high school athletes, coaches, legends, game, highlights, and features. We produced over 700 shows with over 2,100 interviews. We got a great lineup for you on the show this week, as we always do. We will touch on some previous Scholastic Ball Report game time highlights, Roberts Insurance Teams of the Week, Crown Trophy Scholar Athletes, a sports medicine segment with Rob Ullery, legends in high school sports. Also, we will hear from former Scholastic Ball Report interns and co-hosts for the show, and KHSA commissioners past and present. But right now, a little Scholastic Ball Report history and the KHSAA's important role on the show. Today, I'm pleased to welcome current KHSAA Commissioner Julian Tackett and former Commissioner Bridget DeVries into the show today. The KHSAA has always played an important role in the Scholastic Ball Report, starting with former Commissioner Lewis Stout, Bridget DeVries, and now current Commissioner Julian Tackett. Now let's get into a little Scholastic Ball Report history, how it all started. Former Commissioner Lewis Stout and I met with Wayne Martin, the WKYT General Manager, in 2003 to discuss my concept for the Scholastic Ball Report, which was a 30-minute show to air on KYT featuring boys and girls, high school athletes, coaches, legends, and game highlights. Wayne Martin was all about promoting high school sports and very supportive of the Scholastic Ball Report concept. And that's how the show began. The show was produced and recorded in this very studio beginning that same year on KYT. It doesn't seem like 23 years, it seemed like just yesterday. Brack and I were talking about that. The show later moved to the CW, which helped avoid being preempted by other programming on KYT. And here we are 23 years later. Let's start with former Commissioner Bridget DeVries, who is also the show's current executive producer. Talk about the early days of the Scholastic Ball Report and the Commissioner's Corner.
Well, you know, it was a really fun time way back when Lewis Stout was commissioner. Julian was also on staff then too. So we created the Commissioner's Corner, which gave the KHSAA an opportunity to always share positive activities that are going on with the High School Athletic Association. There are a lot of people that think, oh, the staff just makes the rules and it's, you know, mamby-pamby, blah, blah, blah. Not so. We have a board of directors. We had, at that time, about 270 member schools, and they have a delegate assembly, and they're the ones that make the rules and regulations and the Constitution and bylaws. Now, that's kind of dry stuff, but it's very educational to people who still kind of wonder what the KHSAA does. We had several board members from all areas of the state who come in to regular meetings. We could share that information. We had a delegate assembly each year where every one of the schools were represented. So that kind of information, while dry, is very important to know, for people to know what goes on. We also could talk about our upcoming events, state events, activities, and things like that. It gave us an opportunity to talk about rules changes, the playing rules, and other items like that. And finally, the fun of participating in high school interscholastic athletics.
And putting those kids on TV.
Exactly.
Julian, as commissioner, from your perspective, talk about some of the positive KHSA aspects the Scholastic Ball Report has brought to the high school sports community.
Well, you know, everybody can remember their last time their team won, but they can also remember the last time they were on the show. and they still talk about it to this day, almost 25 years later. The excitement of being able to share with their community, telling them, when's it going to air? Oh, it's here. Okay, let's everybody back then tape it. Let's try to figure out a way to watch it. But it allowed them to show the other side, not just the sweat and coaching and running, but you got to see some fantastic kids. You all in all of those interviews got to see some of the best of the best.
Well, Julie, you've always been a supporter of the Scholastic Ball Report. Describe some of the important topics that you've enjoyed sharing over the years in your interviews.
Well, a lot of times it might be talking about an upcoming event, but at the same time, it was educating people that there was always this feeling from the general public that this was somehow the state version of the NCAA, when in fact, as Bridget talked about, the structure is so different. And I've actually made this comment to a friend of mine in Birmingham who's commissioner of the SEC, and I told Mr. Sankey one time, I said, you've got 16 you can autocratically decree. We got 280 and we could give away money and they wouldn't agree. So it's a whole different concept, but we got to share that. We got to share the differences and go back. Plus, the one thing the show never forgot, and we tried to never forget it when we were on, was don't forget about the past. Because yes, the stuff that's happened, it's ironic that you all started when you did, because it was about the time Twitter started. And there's a generation of people who don't think anything happened before Twitter. So we were able to bring back some of those memories, whether it was the high school league or whether it was other things. And the best part of it was getting to poke and gouge Lewis. That was the best part of being on the show.
That was the best part for me, too. Julian, talk about your interest in having your staff come on the show to talk about each of the other sports and activities and other programs that the KHSA offers.
Well, we had such an advantage then, and we still do. We've lost an asset with that because it allows people to put a face and a personality to some note they got or some email they got or something like that, and they get to see these people are really human. And we got to talking, we had people talk when we got to add unified sports, and we all of a sudden started talking about adding the activities, and we knew the naysayers would be out there, well, these aren't sports. Well, yeah, but those are still the same kids competing, and they got a chance to be frontline, be on camera. You got to push them out of their comfort zone. Not all of us, not all of us that have been in this business are walking sound bites like I've been accused of being. A lot of people were very uncomfortable in front of the camera. Carl Hurley's story is very true that most people, America's worst fear is public speaking, and their second worst fear is dying. And he said most people would rather be in the casket at a funeral than to be, up front talking.
Speaking, yeah.
So it's true. So we got to get them out. There was professional growth there, and I think it's been great. I think you saw that with your coaches, though.
Yeah.
People that were king of their kingdoms in their buildings, but they had to get out of here where the lights are a little brighter, and they had to watch what they say and had to tiptoe a little bit. It was always fun to watch.
And they did, didn't they, Julia?
Exactly. They had a blast.
Bridget, what do you feel is unique about the Scholastic Ball Report?
Well, and I go back, a little historically there, back, 23 years, with the show. But to me, it was unique. It is unique. It's still unique because it highlighted the academic accomplishments of student athletes as well as what they do in the class, onto the field or into the gym. The other thing, it gave an opportunity. Sometimes you would maybe choose an activity, like you would bring in the bands, you would bring in cheer, and you would bring in some of the things that maybe weren't, in the beaten path, so to speak. And I think that's really good. I do think that the other thing you did was you recognized those student athletes with the Crown Trophy Scholar Athlete each week that was selected, not by you, but by the administrators from the different high schools. And that gave that student athlete a chance to have a little plaque and some recognition, et cetera, et cetera. So those, I think, are really unique. And the final thing I would say is that this show has always been about community. And it highlighted the small towns, the large cities, the personalities, and there was nothing like it really probably then or now in the state of Kentucky.
Well, Bridget, I give you credit because when Lewis and I started the show, the first thing you said to me is, I'll do it, but you got to have girls sports involved. And we certainly had them involved. They were sometimes majority on the show over male athletes. Well, Julian and Bridget, in closing, let me say that I've appreciated the KHSA involvement for the show and from day one and the time spent with you all and your staff over the years. It's been great.
It sure has.
It sure has, Gary.
No matter who you cheer for or what the sport.
Clark's Puppet Shop is there to support the young people who play.
Whether it's a snack on the way to the game or restocking on the way home, Clark's is the winning stop. And whether you're choosing from drinks, chips, or a one-of-a-kind crispy, crunchy chicken, you'll be a winner no matter what the scoreboard says.
Clark's Puppet Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
I would like to welcome Joe and John Roberts from Roberts Insurance, who are longtime supporters of high school sports, the KHSAA, and the Scholastic Ball Report. Let's get into a little Roberts Insurance history as a sponsor of the Scholastic Ball Report Team of the Week. John, talk about your father Bob and mother Kathy and your company's sports history throughout the state of Kentucky.
Thanks, Gary. Yes, my dad originally from Clay County, and he always says the one sport that he would have been all-state in was bass fishing. And unfortunately, there was no bass fishing when he was in high school. But met my mom at Eastern. They're both proud EKU alumnus, and Dad started the agency from scratch. Just worked hard, and Mom taught for a couple years, then joined the family business. And Joe and I, as soon as we graduated from UK, we started working and started as insuring 2 or 3 school districts in Kentucky, and now we insure over 160 colleges and school districts in the state of Kentucky. Very grateful.
That's great. Joe, talk about your early days with your family coming to the KHSA Sweet 16 basketball tournaments every year since you were born.
Gary, that's a great one. That's an easy one as well. So March 1987, that was our first Sweet 16. That's a special one. A lot of people remember that. You know, it was Clay County versus Ballard in the finals.
Richie Farmer against Allen Houston.
Yes, the great Richie Farmer, Russ Chadwell, and then, you know, legendary Bobby Keith. Ballard had Allen Houston, Mark Bell, and Coach Davenport. The small East Kentucky school against the big school from Louisville, and it was just an incredible tournament. Of course, Clay County won, and that was also the year our alma mater, Madison Central, first time they ever made the Sweet 16 in 1987, and I think they set the attendance record that year, that Friday, when they played Clay County for that game. But ever since then, completely hooked. We haven't missed one since. Sweet 16, it's been our family vacation, I guess almost 40 years now.
And John, I know the show was a family affair that included your daughter, Claire. She talked about Claire's experience conducting a new segment here on the show, Athlete to Athlete.
It was such a wonderful experience for Claire. Claire started UK in the fall. She had never thought about going into broadcasting, but because of the encouragement, the wisdom, how much you and Commissioner DeVries supported Claire, it's something that she's thinking about now.
Yeah.
And it was just a wonderful way for her to meet her peers, to give them recognition, and thank you for that opportunity because it meant so much to Claire.
She did a great job. She
Thank
really
you.
did. I'm not just saying that. Bridget DeVries will echo that. She was an outstanding person on the show. We were lucky to have her.
Thank you.
John, what was the motivating factor for your family to begin the sponsorship of the show initially?
It was couldn't miss. It aligned with exactly what we're about. Dad always taught us to support people that support you. And the state of Kentucky, the KHSAA, people like yourself, Commissioner DeVries, have supported us since we started. So when you all reached out to us, it was not a would we or should we. It was thank you for considering us, because you all align with exactly what we're about. And it's not just promoting student athletes, it's promoting students' achievements, academic, off the court. And I just thought it was a perfect fit.
Joe, Roberts Insurance has been a Scholastic Ball Report sponsor since the very first show. So that's great. Talk about what it has meant to you and your family.
Well, you can tell we're avid high school sports fans, right? And I think that we follow it religiously, and the Scholastic Ball Report really would give the community a chance to get to know the players and the coaches on an individual basis. You would almost take us in the locker room or on the court, and you talk to the coaches and hear how they're preparing for the big game this week, and what the players' goals are, and what their accomplishments have been, and then even what they aspire to do after high school. And you could see highlights or box scores anywhere, but Scholastic Ball Report gave everyone a chance to get to know these players and coaches on an individual basis, and I think that's really what made it so special. And for us, it's just been an honor, like John said, to partner with you for as long as we had, and we thank you for everything you've done for high school sports.
Joe and John, thank you for being a great sponsor on the Scholastic Ball Report. Continue now with the press-spin televised games of football and basketball and the podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
We've certainly had some memorable moments on the Team of the Week segment, including this interview from last year when the Madison Central boys golf team joined us from their van while on the way to the state championship. Maybe we were good luck because the Indians brought home the state title. Also last year, we brought basketball coaches in, Josh Cook, GRC, Steve Page from Great Crossing. They agreed to do an interview together and talk about their team's rivalry. Talk about some of the playmakers on each of your teams. And Josh, you're first.
For us, it starts with our point guard, obviously, Malachi Ashford. He's kind of the guy that kind of gets us going. No matter whatever kind of play we're trying to run or whatever we're facing defensively, we need him to be aggressive for the most part. Just trying to either make plays for himself or make play for others. And then it probably falls into Montez Gay's hands as far as being off the wing and making plays. But he can take it off the dribble. He can spot up and shoot. He can he can post. He can do a little bit of everything. And really for us, we're kind of a balanced team. I think we probably spread it around where guys do their jobs more or less. So we talk about playmaking, obviously, our post game, trying to feed inside the post with either Amari or Maddox Hager, letting those guys, try to expose their matchups and then mid-elbow the kick to the wing, let those other guys make plays, and you fall into Spillman and Eli Craig. And we're pretty balanced. In years past, I probably had some more teams that could probably go one-on-one and more guys that can make plays. This team probably offsets each other better by just doing what they do well. So we're kind of really just focused on guys doing their jobs.
And Steve?
Yeah, I mean, we have two 2,000-point scorers, seniors for us, Malachi Moreno, obviously University of Kentucky commit, McDonald's All-American. We try to play through him. And then, Vince Dawson III, who's our school's all-time leading scorer, going to play at Moorhead. He can do a little bit of everything, score on all three levels, and he's a great compliment to Malachi. And then, talked about our point guard leaving, so LJ Holman, a sophomore, has really stepped into that role and embraced that role here the last 3 weeks. And really, he wanted to be our point guard all along. So it's been a good mix for us, and he's done a really good job. He's a student of the game. That's the one thing I like about him. If we were going to hand the reins to anybody, he probably watches more film than I do. So that's the great thing. He's trying to learn every single day. And we got Gage Richardson, shoots the ball really well. Jamari Mason and T2 Cooper are kind of, we need them to make shots for us to be successful. And then, Brady Orm, a freshman, has had a great season as well. Great on the JV level, good on the varsity level. And he's going to be our future, of our program.
Founded by Kentuckians for Kentuckians. Whitaker Bank is a uniquely Kentucky bank committed to the communities it serves. At Whitaker Bank, you'll find personalized service, a dedication to excellence, and a genuine desire to help you achieve your financial goals. Visit us at any of our conveniently located branches or go to whitakerbank.com to learn how Whitaker Bank can serve you. Whitaker Bank, uniquely Kentucky.
On the Scholastic Ball Report, we wanted to highlight those athletes that also excelled academically. The Crown Trophy Scholar Athlete segment was created to showcase students' achievements both in the classroom and in the community. Caroline Biting was a three-sport athlete at Lexington Catholic, while also serving as leader of the FCA and holding the top GPA in her class. We asked her about what got her into sports.
So I started swimming as a very young girl. I swam for my neighborhood pool, my just summer league. I learned how to swim out in my neighborhood pool, and then started getting a little bit more competitive as I grew up. I started club swim when I was almost 11 years old, and I've stuck with that until now. And I started running. My interest began in first grade. We had to run the mile in PE class, and I just wanted to beat all the boys. So I really tried hard to beat all of the boys and ended up getting a pretty decent time for a first grader. And then my PE teacher recruited me to be on the middle school cross country team when I was in fourth grade. And then that's where my running career began. And I've been running ever since.
Caroline is currently running for the University of Michigan cross-country team. Also last year, we talked to Douglas Lyman Austin Harmon. Not only has he won multiple awards as a leader on the gridiron, he is also a fourth-degree black belt in Taekwondo. We asked him how that helped his mobility.
Yes, sir. I'm also a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Really, it helps with flexibility. As offensive lineman, you have to have great hip mobility. Striking, Taekwondo helps with punching, pass protection, run blocking, you name it. Jiu-Jitsu, it's people like bending body parts that are not supposed to bend that way. So it gives you a lot of additional flexibility, and that helps with the sport a lot.
Finally, we want to revisit our conversation with Luke Greiser. Luke was a tennis player and student assistant coach for the Scott County basketball team. But it's another skill that is getting him recognized on the national stage. Talk about your involvement in speed cubing.
Okay, so speed cubing is what I do best by far. I am currently the 15th fastest speed cuber in the world. I am the 5th fastest in North America and the 5th fastest in the U.S. At the North American Championship last year, I got second among North Americans and third overall, losing only to a guy from Poland named Timon, who's a multiple-time world record holder, and a guy from California named Max Park, who has a Netflix documentary about him. So it's not too bad of company to be up in there with.
Oh. Can you demonstrate that for us?
Yeah, for sure. So before you actually start this off, you have 15 seconds to look at it.
Okay. 15 seconds to look at it, then you go, and it doesn't take you long, does it? Speed cubing
It depends.
Something that, wow. You're done?
Yeah, that wasn't very good for me either.
It was excellent for us.
Very quick.
Hi, this is Gary Ball for Crown Trophy of Lexington. Crown Trophy offers youth sports awards, corporate awards. They offer signs and a full line of promotional products. They're located at 2680 Wilhite Drive on the corner of Nicholasville, New Circle Road, just behind Starbucks. Stop by and pick up your copy of our 85-page catalog. Crown Trophy is nationally known, but locally owned with 150 stores nationwide. Crown Trophy, the official provider of plaques for the Scholastic Ball Report and Prep Spin.
Gary Ball, congratulations on a great run, my friend. And hey, everybody, I'm Mario Anderson. I had the opportunity of knowing Gary since I was a high school senior at Bryan Station when I was one of the very first student interns to work on camera with Gary on the very first Scholastic Ball Reports back in 2004. And I can say that that experience when I was just 17 years young helped fuel my passion for broadcast news. And now I got a few more gray specks in my hair, but working as the morning news anchor with Spectrum News 1. I just want to take a moment and congratulate Gary for a quarter of a century. You've been more than just a voice in sports. You've also been a trusted guide and a storyteller and a friend to so many of us who love high school sports here in Kentucky. From the biggest plays to the unforgettable moments, Gary, you've brought the passion each show, also the energy and heart into every broadcast, and your dedication has shaped the way that we all experience sports, and your impact will be felt for many years to come. So on behalf of all of us and the countless viewers at home, thank you, Gary Ball, for more than 20 years of memories. Of course, we wish you nothing but the very best and whatever comes next, and you've certainly earned the cheers. Congratulations and good luck, Gary.
Let's talk to Cammie Moore-Williams, who is now the UK Associate Director of Athletics, Communications and Public Relations, and a former intern here on the Scholastic Ball Report. Cammie, it's great to see you.
It's so great to see you all. It feels like nothing has changed.
The same set, isn't it?
Yep, it's beautiful.
Cammie, as a Scott County High School student, what was your motivation to apply to become an intern on the Scholastic Ball Report?
Well, gosh, there was a young lady named Tabor who was an intern a while back. She was at my high school. I got to see her do it. She made it look so fun. And also sports was all I could talk about in high school. I was fortunate enough to go to Scott County High School. We were very good at football. We were very good at basketball. It was so exciting. Sports was all I could talk about. So to marry that with coming here and doing it on set on kind of a grander scale, the greater Lexington community, it was a lot of fun.
Describe what it was like to be on camera and meet and interview high school athletes from different schools.
Gosh, that was such a joy. I've got to say I did learn that I'm not super excited to be on camera. That's kind of where I learned maybe behind camera is my expertise. But it was so fun to interview student athletes from all over the greater Lexington area. We made a connection later on in life through the UK Athletic Swim and Dive program. So to get to meet those student athletes, enjoy hearing their story, but then to be able to connect with them later on was really cool.
What part of the experience on the show helped you the most when you went to college?
The networking, for sure. There was a young woman you had as a guest host, Leah Pear, and she wrote my recommendation letter to get into a sorority that I later was the president of. And I never would have had that knowledge of sororities in general if it wasn't for Leah, so that was really cool. And then also everyone from Doug Flynn to Ethan Curl, a student athlete that you had on, folks that I get to interact with on a regular basis in my career now.
Right.
I wouldn't have that back history if it wasn't for the Scholastic Ball Report. I'm extremely fortunate.
What was your favorite part of doing the show?
My favorite part of doing this show was storytelling. There's so much to be said for someone who can excel on the field or on the court, but also in the classroom. And I'm so fortunate that you put a spotlight on that. It wasn't even just that, it was also athletic training that I thought was just so many different parts to make this thing go outside of just competing. Right. And so we got to tell those stories, and that was awesome, and I'm fortunate now to be able to do the same thing.
What did the internship experience do to help you prepare for your current job in UK athletics?
Well, I just felt like I knew the ropes a little bit better. You see all the fancy stuff up here, but what you don't see at home is what's going on behind the camera. And that's a little bit of what I do now is relating to the media relations, getting a student athlete prepared to speak. Right. Even myself preparing today, I'm reminded of how many nerves they might have as a student athlete. Yeah. Preparing them to just be confident sharing their story, that has helped me so much. I learned that a lot here, and then now I'm using it every single day.
Well, let me say that you were one of the most pleasant, easygoing, and capable interns that we've had on the show.
Thank you so much. Those are kind words, and they mean a lot coming from you, Mr. Ball.
That's Camby Moore Williams, who is now an outstanding professional in the communication and public relations field in the athletics department at the University of Kentucky.
Hey, my name is Parker Panel, and I was on the Scholastic Ball Report when I was 12 years old. Now I'm 21 years old, living in Los Angeles, California, pursuing a career in hosting. And I kid you not, I literally would not be where I am today without the Scholastic Ball Report. I was a roving reporter and I interviewed a bunch of high school athletes all across the state of Kentucky, and it gave me the confidence to pursue this career. And so from the bottom of my heart, I'm so incredibly grateful for Gary Ball and the entire team at the Scholastic Ball Report. It seriously has left such a lasting legacy on all of Kentucky high school athletics, and I don't think it's going to be the same without the Scholastic Ball Report. So Gary, thank you very, very much. I'll see you soon, and I'll see you all later. Bye.
Over the years, we've highlighted the legends of high school sports in Kentucky. Recently, we caught up with Sacred Heart Academy girls basketball coach Donna Moyer, who has 800 career victories and led the Valkyries to 6 state championships. We'll also hear from the late coach Philip Haywood, who led Belfry football for 50 years. Let's take a listen.
You know, you've been really successful. First of all, you won a state championship, so you know what that's like when you're during your playing days. And then as a coach, you've won 7 state championships and over 800 wins. And describe some of the highlights of that journey.
You know, gosh, winning that first state championship, just getting to Diddle Arena was crazy because I remember it was in 2002 and we had just gotten a new principal at school. And it was kind of funny because in the summer you always had to we had to sign up and, to meet her. And I walked in there and she said to me, the first thing she said was, there's a lot of people that think you just play golf all day. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of knew what I was in for. And I remember sitting in the regional finals. We were ranked like 7th in the nation, and we were down to Mercy the entire game. And I remember sitting on the bench thinking, oh my God, this is it. I finally got a team that, is just amazing. And if we don't win here, I'm done, and we actually won the game on a last second shot. Like literally the buzzer went off, the ball is bouncing around the rim, and Carly Almerod hit a basket and took us to the state tournament and really changed my career as a coach. But I felt that immense pressure, because in Louisville, to get out of the 7th region, when you win the 7th region, you've done something. And that was just incredible. And then we ended up winning the state tournament that year and then went on to win 2 more. And, it was just, I don't think I didn't really enjoy it because it was just the pressure of like, hey, we got to get back. We got to do it again. And then we got to do it again. And so, but it was just great kids. We are, I'm close to all those girls on the team to this day. And to see them have the success that they've had is something that I'm really proud of.
Philip Haywood, football coach and author from Belfry High School. Welcome in, Philip. What led you to become an author and write your first book, Faith, Family, and Football?
Well, it was kind of a long story in the sense that I'd had people for years say, you know, you ought to write a book. And I said, you know, I'm just a high school football coach. Why me? And they said, yeah, but you've had some experiences that a lot of coaches haven't had. Just some of the things that have happened to me, some injuries that I had to a player very early in my career that may have opened my eyes to what coaching was really about, more so than other young coaches at that time. And that's always stuck with me. And, you know, I went through a tornado in Brandenburg, even before that happened. They're just different things that have happened to me in coaching that not everyone, and I pray no one has to go through some of those things, that I could share some of my insights about that. And then the longer I've done it, I realize how important your faith and your family is to go along with football. And I felt like that it was time for me to share some of those lessons that I've learned with not only coaches, but that was a primary target for me, but for athletes and parents and others who wanted to grow in leadership.
Boy, it's an excellent title. And that leads me to the next question. Talk about your title of your new book and some of the content.
Well, the new book's entitled Climb the Mountain. And it kind of picks up to a certain extent as far as seasonal play, where I ended the last one, beginning with the 2014 season. But I talk a lot more about concepts of what you have to do to be successful. And it's very applicable, even though it's sports oriented, obviously, it's very applicable to anyone. I've had quite a few people review it, both male and female, and said, hey, you know, I didn't have to know anything about football to get into this book. I had a lot of those comments about the first one, but this one's a little more of a step-by-step process of what do you have to do to really climb the mountain? What do you have to do to get to the top? And maybe more importantly, what do you have to do to stay there? And I've been very fortunate, very, very blessed, you know, to have great players, great coaches, and great community to support me. But I've learned some things along the way of the real secrets about being successful and being able to remain that way. So I just wanted to share that information. I know that sometimes we think that, well, this is just for me, or I don't want to share my secrets. But I think anytime that we can get people, young and old alike, that we can share information that can help them grow, to become a better leader, to become a better person, then that's something that I feel almost obligated to do.
No matter who you cheer for or what the sport,
Clark's Puppet Shop is there to support the young people who play.
Whether it's a snack on the way to the game or restocking on the way home, Clark's is the winning stop. And when you're choosing from drinks, chips, or a one-of-a-kind crispy, crunchy chicken, you'll be a winner no matter what the scoreboard says.
Clark's Puppet Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Over the years, there have been so many memorable highlights in Kentucky high school athletics. Many of those highlights showcased here on the Ball Report. So let's take a look back at a handful of the memorable highlights. When we talk about dominant high school football players in Central Kentucky, Wandale Robinson stands out. The former Kentucky Mr. Football had more than 8,500 yards from scrimmage and 118 touchdowns at Western Hills. In this game in 2017 against Lexington Catholic, Wandale had 18 carries for 276 yards and 5 touchdowns. But it was quarterback Bo Allen leading the Knights to a 49-42 shootout win on this night in October of 2017. All right, let's go back to 2014 for one of the best performances we will ever see by a Central Kentucky high school running back. Madison Southern's Damian Harris had a night against South Laurel. On the first play from scrimmage, Damian Harris finds a hole and takes it 65 yards for the touchdown. It was 7-0 Madison Southern. The very next time that Harris touched the ball, he breaks a couple of tackles and then breaks free for a 50-yard touchdown. The Kentucky Mr. Football and future NFL running back was far from finished. Harris finished the night with 20 carries for 357 yards and 7 touchdowns in this game, with the 1-second winner coming for Harris. This game was a thriller. Madison Southern won the game 54-51. To make it even sweeter, Harris was crowned homecoming king at halftime. And of course, it's not all about the football highlights on the Ball Report. Time to hit the hardwood. On the basketball court, back in 2016, Dunbar was looking for his first state title, taking on Doss. Tavion Hollingsworth had a huge tournament. Then Darius Williams here off the miss, there for the putback. Dunbar jumped out to a 15-2 lead. Hollingsworth again, this time for 3. He had 20 points. The Bulldogs were up by 15 at the half, and they would lead by as many as 21 in the second half. Williams with an and one right there to cap it off. 61-52 the final. The junior, Tavion Hollingsworth, the tournament MVP, as Dunbar hoisted that gold trophy. Back in 2013, Madison Central was facing Ballard in the championship game of the Sweet 16. This was an all-timer. Final seconds of the third quarter, Dominique Hawkins drives, scores, draws the foul. Central was within 5. We go to the fourth quarter. Kenja Bosley is going to get the kick out here and knocks it down for 3, 47-44, and then Bosley from the corner, that's money. Madison Central takes a lead of 51-49. Bosley then drives, hits the shot and the foul. He had 20 points. Back to a 3-point game, under 20 seconds to go. Down by 4, Hawkins drives, scores, 64-62. Ballard was in front, 16 seconds left. Ballard inbounding the ball, but the inbounds pass intercepted by George Walker. He gets it to Hawkins, who loses the ball momentarily. Bosley picks it up with 5 seconds to go, heaves it, and it's good. A 3-pointer with 2 seconds on the clock. Bosley in disbelief. Ballard's final shot was no good. Madison Central wins its first state title. Final score 65-64, led by 21 points and 10 boards from the future Wildcat Dominique Hawkins. Big shot, though, there by Kenja Bosley. My goodness, those are some memorable highlights. We'll be right back with more Ball Report after the break.
Founded by Kentuckians for Kentuckians, Whitaker Bank is a uniquely Kentucky bank committed to the communities it serves. At Whitaker Bank, you'll find personalized service, a dedication to excellence, and a genuine desire to help you achieve your financial goals. Visit us at any of our conveniently located branches or go to whitakerbank.com to learn how Whitaker Bank can serve you. Whitaker Bank, uniquely Kentucky.
I'd like to welcome Doug Flynn into the Scholastic Ball Report. Doug is one of the greatest co-hosts on the show in the past. And it's great to see you again, and congratulations on your recent induction in the UK Athletics Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you. I was still numb. We had a great weekend. My wife and I got a chance to go be around some really wonderful athletes and people. They treated us like royalty, but Gary, is just one of the true blessings that I've got in my life.
Doug, talk about how we met and some of the sports we worked on together over the years.
You know, it was fun. I mean, I got to do this show a whole bunch, but we would do some ball games. I remember one night in Scott County, and the game was over with, and the Scott County football coach said, "Gary, who are you doing the games with?" And you said, "Doug Flynn." And he said, remember?
What he said?
What's he know about football?
Oh, yeah.
He's a baseball player.
He did say that, didn't he?
But, you know, I played 3 sports growing up, and then you and I got a chance to meet, and I've never seen anybody who promoted or loved high school sports like you do. You've been certainly a credit, and it's been an honor just to be around you and learn from you, and now to be a part here of your final show.
Well, you brought so much energy, experience, and fun to the show, and your time co-hosting with me. Talk about that.
Well, that's just kind of the attitude I have. You know, I've been fortunate to be involved in a lot of things, and I'm very thankful for the things I get to do. So I try to live each day by itself and enjoy myself, and hopefully people around me will do that. My wife thinks I do a little too much of it, and she wants me to tone it down a little bit, but you know, that's just kind of who my nature, and I got it honest because I got it from Bobby Flynn, so it's hard to get rid of.
You got it honest, that's for sure. He was a great guy. Tell us what you enjoyed the most about co-hosting the show.
Well, I think the opportunity to meet young athletes and young scholars as they would come into our show, and you know, you would try to give them a little bit of advance about what the question was going to be, but most of them were so polished, much more than I ever was at that age. They were very polished, and I think just meeting them and realizing that in this town there are so many wonderful athletes, and it's getting supported, especially by a show like this.
Well, Minnie Rose, throughout your sports career, discuss what you see as the important values that high school sports can offer student athletes.
Well, I was blessed to have so many great coaches at Bryan Station in all the sports that I played. And the thing that was so good is they were concerned about how you were as an athlete, but more so how you were as a young person. And they really tried to teach you the values that you could take after you left high school, if you went to college, but just to make you good young people. And when I look at the coaches we have in our area today, there are some that have the same type feelings. I mean, they're out there trying to tell these kids that, you know, playing sports, you can only do it for so many years. And at some point in time, the rest of your life will be going on, so they try to help them in that.
Share some lessons that boys and girls in sports could learn.
Well, I think one of the biggest things you'll learn is you'll learn discipline. You'll learn to be on time. You'll learn to do what you're told to do. Also, you'll learn respect for somebody in authority that is telling you a lot of things that you really don't agree with or maybe don't like, but you're going to have to do it if you're going to be a part of a team. It'll teach you how to work with other people that may be different from you. And so I think just life lessons that you can learn through sports. And you know, if you're very blessed, you get a chance to go even further and further with that, as I did. And you know, I always look back. I wear those Bryan Station colors proudly.
Yep.
My University of Kentucky now will be proudly, which I've always been a fan. So yeah, those things that I learned carried on over even into my professional career.
Describe some of the most fun memories you had on the show.
I think working with some of your little co-hosts has been fun. I mean, you bring them on, and a lot of them have never done TV before, and they were learning how to feel comfortable and how to find out which camera we were going to, but also they wanted to pursue it. And I think what this show did is it instilled in them, you know, I can do this, and I just need to work at it a little bit. And a lot of these young people have moved on. Some of them are still working in the business. Some of them are still playing sports, and the rest of them are just finishing up school and starting families.
That's right. Do you have any reflections you would like to mention from your time as co-host?
I just think it's a privilege because I was a fan before because I like to get up in the morning. If I didn't go to a game on Friday night, I wanted to get up Saturday and see who won the games. So I would get up in the mornings and watch those games. And then over that, our friendship developed. Of course, I've known Bridget for a long time.
Yes.
I've known Julian a long time. I knew Mr. Mills. I knew Lewis. That tells you how old I am. I kind of go back. And I think there's so much pride in being able to come on here knowing what a great job so many folks were doing with our high school athletes and students.
Well, thank you, Doug, once again for being such a valuable co-host on the show.
Gary, the honor and pleasure is all mine, my friend.
That's Doug Flynn, one of the greatest people in sports that I know. We'll be back with more on the show.
Hi, this is Gary Ball for Crown Trophy of Lexington. Crown Trophy offers youth sports awards, corporate awards. They offer signs and a full line of promotional products. They're located at 2680 Wilhite Drive on the corner of Nicholasville, New Circle Road, just behind Starbucks. Stop by and pick up your copy of our 85-page catalog. Crown Trophy is nationally known, but locally owned with 150 stores nationwide. Crown Trophy, the official provider of plaques for the Scholastic Ball Report and Prep Spin.
I would like to welcome Rob Ullery, Nicholas County High School athletic trainer, to the show today. Rob is a dedicated sports medicine professional and a good friend of the Scholastic Ball Report for over 20 years. Rob, let's go back to the 2003 on the football field at Tates Creek High School. Talk about what we discussed.
So yeah, that was a long time ago, Gary. I remember you coming up to me on the field and basically asking me if I thought that a high school sports highlight show would be interesting, and if UK Sports Medicine would be interested in helping sponsor this show. And I think that afternoon was the kind of the birth of this program.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a great idea to highlight student athletes throughout Central Kentucky area, and the successes of these student athletes has just been outstanding.
In the early days of the show, why was it important to UK Healthcare and Sports Medicine be a part of the show?
So I thought it was really important because we had the same mission. We really did. We had the mission of taking care of student athletes. You did by highlighting their achievements. We do by allowing them to get back into the game and allow them to get back onto the field in a healthy manner. So I felt like our missions were meshed, and I felt like it was a great partnership.
Discuss the importance of sharing sports medicine tips and information with the viewers over the show each week.
So it would be amazing the amount of people that would come up to me and say what tips they saw. And Rob, we saw you on the show this week, and there for a couple years me helping you co-host and doing those sorts of things. I mean, it was awe-inspiring, the amount of people that would come up and say, oh, I always wondered about this injury. I always wondered about how to do this. And those tips that we provided every week, I think, were just sensational.
And Rob, you instituted the Comeback Athlete of the Month segment on the show. Talk about that.
So we came to an agreement or an idea of highlighting an athlete that has overcome some sort of adversity, whether that be physical or anything else. We've had people that battled cancer and came back. We've had people that have had devastating injuries that have come back. And it was something to show their perseverance and to show how they have persevered through these types of adversity. And the least we could do is highlight those adverse situations that they've become.
Now I'm going to ask you, what did you enjoy most about being on the show?
You and I have always had a conversation. Yeah. It's been amazing, Gary, that over the last 20-some years, we've never scripted really anything.
No.
We truly bounce ideas off of each other throughout the entire show, throughout our entire careers. And it's more of conversational. I'd have other athletic trainers that be on here and get really, really nervous about how to talk and do those sorts of things. And I kept reminding them, make it conversational. And that once you have a conversation, it's very easy to do. And I think that's what highlights us the most is we try to throw curveballs at each other, just try to keep each other off balance. Yeah. But it's been amazing throughout the years of our relationship and our relationship that we've had with the Scholastic Ball Report over the years.
Thanks again, Rob, for your important role in keeping high school athletes safe and healthy around the state of Kentucky, and for being a big part of the Scholastic Ball Report.
Thank you.
That's Rob Ullery, Nicholas County High School, UK Healthcare Sports Medicine athletic trainer, always keeping the Kentucky high school athletes injury-free and safe.
Folks, this is Gary Ball, and you hear my catchphrase, soup and a sandwich. When I want the best potato soup and prime rib sandwich, I head over to Rafferty's Restaurants after my games. Check out Rafferty's 9 great locations throughout Kentucky, and all you teens, you can eat at Rafferty's before those big ball games. The open prime rib sandwich is what legends are made of. Ask Joe B. Hall, the legend himself, it's his favorite. Rafferty's a big supporter of high school sports throughout Kentucky. Rafferty's, where the special is you.
Welcome back to the Scholastic Ball Report for an interview with the king of string, William Warfield of Prep Spin. Welcome in, William.
Gary, thanks for having me, man, and congratulations on a great career with this TV show, and I'm just proud of you, brother.
William, I've known you for a long time. Talk about how we met and our history before the Scholastic Ball Report.
I can't really pinpoint the exact day that we met, but I knew of you by doing high school sports. I think if I recall, I think the first time we had an interaction was either at the Sweet 16 or maybe a LCA game. But I do remember your wife Bridget telling you and I both at the time that we should kind of synergize together and see if we can create something, because I believe at that time radio was kind of doing a little bit less coverage, and we were trying to figure out a way to bring you on to the live streaming that we were just starting out to do. So it worked out, and she was right.
William has been the exclusive web streamer for the Scholastic Ball Report doing the webcast since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. And talk about the transition that had to be made from in-studio interviews at WKYT to remote web stream interviews.
Oh man, I recall, at the Sweet 16, the girls' Sweet 16, when that went down that day, when all the play stopped. So we kind of left everything there on the court there at Rupp Arena, and everybody, I think, was scrambling, trying to figure out a way how to continue without sports. And obviously you had a great show going on, and it was just one of those things where we had worked together, and I had mentioned, I said, hey, Gary, why don't we do them remote? Why don't we do these interviews remote since you're unable to go into the studio, because that's what the policy was at the time. So we did it, and we had people calling in on their webcams, on their cell phones, you name it. We got that content and was able to bring it to you and continue the show, and that's one of my proudest moments, I think, doing all the media stuff, is being able to help you keep your show going.
Discuss the creation of the Pretspin mobile studio that helped assist during the COVID.
Yeah, so again, when the COVID situation was going on, there wasn't very much access being allowed into the press boxes. So you're talking about perfect timing. We were getting ready to invest into a broadcast trailer, and I thought at the time, I got it with a friend named Lewis Hell, who does great podcast tables or any kind of furniture for that matter. And I said, hey man, why don't you create me a table that we can put inside our broadcast trailer, and we're going to mount a TV on the wall, and we're going to see if we can do play-by-play out of it, because our broadcasters can't come into the press box. So that worked out. All we had to do was send our camera guy up to the top of the press box where it was deemed safe, as long as he had a mask on or she had a mask on. And so that's how we did it. We had the camera guys on top. We ran a wire down to our broadcast trailer, and you guys called all the action off of this big 77-inch TV in the broadcast trailer. So you're talking about evolving and making stuff happen. That was pretty awesome and innovative at the time.
Well, you and Bridget have gone over and above producing the show when I had my stroke during COVID. Tell the audience about your role on the Scholastic Ball Report production process.
Well, the production process, working with Bridget and yourself, we kind of figure out, a week or sometimes 2 weeks and sometimes even 3 weeks in advance, kind of what we want to go get as far as content-wise, who we're going to interview and how we're going to do it, that type of thing. Bridget does a great job with all the planning of the show, and you are able to make those phone calls and get those coaches with all your contacts, and they're able to reach out to their student athletes, and it kind of all works together. And then I kind of mix it all together on my end by supplying the technology where they're able to call in, and sometimes we'll go out with the cameras and get interviews in person if that's what we need to do. But we certainly have made this work, and we're doing it right now as well, with the remote interview that we're doing right this second. So it's been fun, man.
What did you like about working on the Scholastic Ball Report? Some of the positives on the show for Prep Spin.
Well, I mean, if you watch Prep Spin, and I know you have, but because you share the same kind of mission as I do, and that's to celebrate student athletes and to celebrate the schools and just provide positive coverage for those student athletes and for the schools and athletic directors, coaches, you name it. We take pride in what we do, and I always tell people, your hobby's going to lead to your passion, and your passion's going to lead you to your purpose. And I do believe that you and I have got that same purpose, and that's to highlight student athletes and love on these schools around here, give them the coverage that they deserve.
Discuss the evolution of the Prep Spin and the Scholastic Ball Report partnership over the years, especially since COVID-19.
Yeah, so we had mentioned that we were able to tag team together before COVID happened, where you were doing play-by-play on the broadcast on Prep Spin. So that's one way that you helped me out in a big way by providing your talent for that. You and Coach Meehan and all the other folks that have joined in with you over the years. And then as far as the show goes, being able to mix technology with what you do as far as the interview process goes, and being able to bring in those guests that way, that has kind of allowed me to help you back. So it's kind of paying it forward, if you will. You've helped me, I've helped you, and it's made it all work.
So it looks pretty good today, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're talking right now in 1080p, and it looks beautiful, man.
Well, thank you, William, for your dedication and your hard work during quality webcast over the years.
Yeah, Gary, I'm proud of you. I know the retirement thing, and certainly we need to get you into the Hall of Fame one day soon. I know you're already in the Northern Kentucky Hall of Fame, but I'm a big advocate for getting you into the KHSA Hall of Fame. Nobody deserves it more than you do, and we're going to keep pushing for that. And I'm looking forward to the future with you. You're not riding into the sunset by any means. You're still going to be there, on Friday nights, and then select basketball games that we're going to have on Prep Spin. So I'm excited for that. But also, you and I have decided to bring back the podcast that we kind of made famous during the COVID. By bringing in special guests and talking, whether it be somebody that's a former player or somebody that's current, that's making a lot of headways out there. We're going to bring it to you on the Prep Spin podcast. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that and being part of the show. I've always been behind the scenes. You've always been the face on the camera. And, I'm looking forward to getting out there and working with you and letting you kind of mentor me as I transition into that role.
Well, thank you for making this Scholastic Ball Report the best it could be. That's Prep Spin's William Warfield, the king of stream, best in the business. Well, that's a wrap on the Scholastic Ball Report. Special thanks go to the team who made the Ball Report possible for 23 years, including the WKYT sports staff and Joel Clace. Until we meet again, thanks for watching, and remember, for those you see and those you don't see, keep your eye on boys and girls high school sports in Kentucky. So long.
The Scholastic Ball Report was brought to you by Mingy Beef Jerky, Clark's Pump and Shop, Whitaker Bank, Roberts Insurance, Crown Trophy, Sutherland Chevrolet, eCampus.com, Rafferty's, Double Dogs, and by Prep Spin.